Maybe you've always thought that you don't need a budget for whatever reason. Don't be ashamed, I did too. One of my mentors once said, if you can't manage $1,000, you won't be able to manage $1,000,000. Today we're going to talk about the most basic yet important fundamental skill of financial freedom, budgeting. You may think that you don't need a budget, but the reality is that if you don't have one, you don't have true control of your money. In other words, you'll be reactive to change instead of being proactive. When you don't have a budget, you are more likely to suffer major consequences in the event of an emergency like unplanned car or housing repairs. Budgeting is not just for big companies or wealthy people, but the reality is if they have one to manage their money, why don't you? If you want to be wealthy, do the things that the wealthy do. Most importantly, having a budget helps you realize and take action on the lifestyle changes that need to be made in order for you to one day live the life you want to live. Not having a budget and trying to improve your finances is like stepping up to the plate blindfolded, expecting to hit a home run. Is it possible? Well, I suppose it is, but it's highly unlikely. First off, what is a budget? At the basic level, a budget is a way for you to monitor your income versus your spending. More specifically though, it's a financial plan designed so that you can first take control of your money and then start working toward accomplishing your financial goals. It can be as long or as short as whatever time frame you want. It could be annual or quinquennial, meaning every 5 years, or it could be even longer. But it could be more short-term like quarterly, monthly, or maybe even weekly. Perhaps you want to use a combination of them. For example, you could come up with a monthly budget and then break that down into weekly, giving you the ability to monitor your money more closely. You decide what's best for you and feel free to change your mind if what you're doing isn't working. Keep in mind that a budget is not set in stone. You may want to make adjustments along the way, and that's okay. Maybe you underestimated your clothing maintenance or you forgot to include your monthly dues. Maybe you want to take on a new gym membership. Go back and make adjustments as necessary. It's not a payday to payday plan. I want you to think bigger and think long term. Where do you want to be financially in the next 6 months or maybe even 3 years from now? Use your budget as a tool to get you there. It should definitely not be used as a band-aid to cover up reality. Face your wounds and deal with them. Finally, your budget probably won't be the same every month unless you're a detailed planner. For example, have you made holiday shopping a part of your long-term budget? If you work with only short-term budgets, do you celebrate the same amount of birthdays every month? Maybe you get a bonus from your job. In either case, always remember that the budget is the plan, and like Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. I want you to understand that the process of creating an initial budget can be humbling and maybe even disheartening if you let it. But it can also be reassuring and build your self-esteem if you know that you have a solid plan. It may seem like you're looking for the bottom in a bucket of dirty water, but once you have a solid budget, things will start to become more clear as you start making adjustments and working towards your goals. The first thing you have to do is calculate your net income. How much money would you bring home in that specified amount of time? If your budget is monthly, how much do you bring home in a month? Then you want to calculate your expenses. Try to be as detailed as possible. Include things like car maintenance funding, your nails, dry cleaning, and other self-care items. The more detailed you are, the more powerful a tool your budget will be. Add them all up and subtract the total from your net income. If your spending exceeds your income, you've identified a problem, but it can be fixed. Make realistic goals. If you only have $50 left after subtracting your expenses from your income, don't make a goal to have $50,000 saved by the end of the year. That doesn't make sense and it's unrealistic. Make a plan to adjust your lifestyle as necessary to meet your goals. This may mean that you have to decide what you are willing to give up in order to get rid of your gap between your income and your expenses. Or it may mean that you have a surplus that you can actually include in your budget as investments and/or savings. Finally, review your budget regularly and make adjustments where they need to be made. Maybe you paid some things off and it's time to redirect that money elsewhere. Maybe you didn't or can't achieve your goals because your income is not enough, has decreased, or maybe lost altogether, and you need to create an additional source of income. You can use that data to make decisions. Keep in mind that a written budget is just a piece of dirty paper unless you take action. You should try and be disciplined, and if you realize that the plan doesn't work, evaluate the plan and make changes or cutbacks. This is hard because you have to decide that some things just aren't that important. Not having enough is nothing to be embarrassed about, but pretending to have enough can be detrimental in the future. Maybe you really can't afford cable, or you'll have to say no to the annual trip to Vegas this year. At the end of the day, you and your legacy are the ones most affected by the decisions you make, so don't put yourself in a bad place trying to impress people. You have to make sacrifices. Everyone does. I can't say this loud enough because I see it time and time again. Whatever you do, don't spend the money you don't have yet. In other words, don't sacrifice your bill money to buy something with the tax return that isn't in your bank account yet. That's a huge risk and the fastest way to destroy your budget. If and thens are fine. If I get this, then I will do this, but don't get ahead of yourself. Listen, you've already experienced the hardest part of the process. Keep going. The one undisputed fact is that you'll never meet your goals if you quit. And if it's too complicated for you to develop a plan on your own, there are plenty of resources available to you. Click the link in the description and take a look at what we at MWR have to offer. And as always, like, comment, share if you find this information valuable. Subscribe or follow for more financial tips. See you all on the other side of financial freedom.